Okay, moving next to our next point is the beach access repairs and improvement project, capital improvement program, project number 3890. And I believe staff will be presenting to the commission. Actually, are we having audio? Someone might be muted.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Now we can.
thank you.
There we go. Sounds good.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Vice Chair Press and the commission members. My name is Hossein Ajide. I'm an engineering manager, and with me is Imad Elias, associate engineer, and also joining us is Mr. Robert Sherwood with GHD, the consultant for this project. And we are here this afternoon to provide you with a presentation on beach access repairs and improvements. Recommended action for this afternoon would be that the Traffic and Mobility Commission receive a presentation and provide feedback on the staff's approach to implementing design of beach access repairs and improvement projects, Capital Improvement Program CIP, project number 3896. A little bit background on this project. The project includes two major components. The first component is the must-do necessary repairs of beach access facilities along Carlsbad Boulevard between Pine Avenue and Tamarack Avenue. Example of these essential beach access facilities are repairs of stairways, upper and lower sidewalks, and seawall. The project also includes certain highly desired improvements, primarily to enhance pedestrian mobility. And these improvements include widening upper sidewalk, again, along the west side of Carlsbad Boulevard between Pine Avenue and Cherry Avenue. This aerial view shows the project limit on Carlsbad Boulevard on the west side between Pine Avenue and Tamarack Avenue. So what are major project goals? They are repair beach access facilities to maintain public safety, maintain public access, enhance pedestrian mobility, and also increase aesthetic value to public. So what are the major challenges of this important project? The project location is partially within the state parks right away. Therefore, coordination with the state parks staff and also obtaining necessary permits, including encroachment permits from state parks, are required. The project has certain environmental complexity and clearance. Example would be impact of the shading associated with the extended or widened sidewalk over the bluff along the Carlsbad Boulevard. Also, the other challenges are related to coordination with California Coastal Commission and obtaining necessary permits, including coastal development permits. This aerial view shows some major project elements along Carlsbad Boulevard between Pine Avenue and Cherry Avenue. As mentioned, the primary goal of this project is doing certain repairs, including upper sidewalk repairs, stairway replacement, lower sidewalk repairs that are highlighted in this aerial view in blue, yellow, and red, respectively. The project also includes certain improvements which are highly desired, including widening the sidewalk. For that, we have two alternatives. Alternative one is widening the sidewalk by extending the sidewalk towards the bluff going west. Alternative two includes widening the sidewalk by extending the sidewalk towards the bluff and the road towards Carlsbad Boulevard. For that alternative, certain modification to geometry of the median between Pine Avenue and Walnut Avenue is required. That's the area is highlighted in purple. For alternative two, also we need to realign the bike lane buffer between Walnut and Maple. Similarly, this aerial view shows the project elements for, again, along Carlsbad Boulevard, but between Cherry Avenue and Tamarack Avenue. Again, upper sidewalk repairs, stairway replacement, and lower sidewalk repairs are highlighted in this aerial view in blue, yellow, and red, respectively. With that, I turn it over to Mr. Elias, who's going to talk about more specific detailed about project elements for this project. I think you're muted, Imad.
We still can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Yep, sorry about that. That was, okay, we'll go back to it. Yeah, I think Hussein mentioned just about everything that I was going to talk about. So I feel like I don't have much more to talk about here, but we'll just skim right through some of these slides here. So again, some of the project elements that we need to do and need to repair and replace are the stairways here. We have 4 stairways that are elevated off the bluff. And then we have 1 stairway that's on grade or on soil. And that's the one closest to Tamarack Avenue, right by the restrooms. And then we have the upper sidewalk that that needs pretty extensive work, and we'll discuss that in detail here in just a few minutes. But this upper sidewalk here is unlike any other sidewalk that we have around the city. This is actually elevated off the bluff. If you notice this line here, I hope you can see my mouse, but there's a line almost on the right third of this picture here. To the right of that line, that sidewalk is on grade. And then to the left of that, that's actually elevated off the bluff, hovering over the bluff. And then again, we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. And then the third element for the project is the lower sidewalk and seawall and various sizes of retaining walls. And you can kind of see here at the top of this bottom picture here, you see that sidewalk, it's actually elevated off the bluff. So here's what the upper sidewalk looks like now. We've seen some major cracks along the upper sidewalk. We've seen some corrosion. We've seen some rusting. We've seen a lot of concrete that was spalling. So we needed to take a closer look at it. And so we hired GHD consultants and with some of their sub-consultants, and we've done some extensive structural analysis for the upper sidewalk. We have looked into multiple options to try and value engineer the project or try to save, do as much work as possible with as little money as possible. So value engineering this project. We looked into some repair options to repair any of the concrete that's spalling or any of the rebar that's corroding and rusting. But ultimately, our studies showed that this upper sidewalk structure needs to be replaced completely. You can kind of see here as 2 different pieces come together, you see lots of concrete breaking apart. We saw a lot of cracks. Once you see some of these rust stains, that's an indication of water or salt water in this case, intruding into the concrete and rusting some of the rebar that's inside and then impacting the structural integrity of the structure. Then we have the stairways. Again, there lots of different types of components here. We have concrete and we have steel. So we have the handrails and stringers that are holding up the stairways. They have, again, extensive corrosion. Again, it's a very harsh environment out here with the sun, with the salt water, with the sand, with the winds. It's a pretty harsh environment here. So it's definitely taken a toll on this structure. Surprisingly, and I'm not really sure why, but some of these caissons, some of these piles that are supporting the stairways are actually in excellent condition. So not really sure why, but they're going to stay in place. We don't need to do any kind of repairs to them. Actually, we've taken some concrete cores of them and studied the concrete and their properties, and it's in excellent condition. So these columns here, these piles that go into the bluff in excellent condition. So we're going to be replacing the stairways and everything around them and even the concrete landings. But those piles will stay in place. And then down, we have the seawall, and if you kind of see the sand here is on the left and a little bit of the lower sidewalk here on the right. Overall, the seawall is also in excellent condition, and it just has some minor repairs that need to be done on it, relatively minor repairs. So again, just concrete spalling and breaking apart, and some construction and control joints that we would need to repair properly. And we also have a few different retaining walls, different sizes of retaining walls. This would be one that we, again, just typical repairs to those retaining walls, nothing extensive. So for this slide, let's start here on the top right of this slide. You can see this picture here. That's it's if you're standing on the sidewalk somewhere near Pine Avenue, looking south. You have the beach to your right, and then you have Carlsbad Boulevard to your left. And again, you kind of see that line here that I talked about earlier. On the left here, that's the portion of the sidewalk that's built on grade, and then on the right here, this is the portion that's elevated or hovering over the bluff. And this is a schematic of what it looks like on the left here. This is what it looks like schematically. You have the metal beam guardrails, again, portion of that sidewalk that's on grade. And here's this blue structure that needs to be replaced. These beams and the sidewalk needs to be replaced completely. And also this beam that's in green. So while we were going through this project in the preliminary engineering phases, we realized some great opportunities for us to enhance the sidewalk and pedestrian experience in this area. We know that there are thousands of pedestrians that visit this area on a daily basis and all year round. So knowing that this structure in blue and green, that's going to be replaced with a structure that has a design life of at least 50 years. This is, for most of us, this is the opportunity of a lifetime to expand and enhance this facility and make it as wide as possible while minimizing any impacts, whether environmental or otherwise. So, and we realized we have a couple options like Hossein mentioned earlier, and let's look at those now. So currently the sidewalk, the inside walking width of the sidewalk is a little over 9 feet, 9 feet and 3 inches, give or take. We have these handrails that are considered top mounted. So they are top mounted on the sidewalk. So one of the options we looked at kind of looks like this. I'll have a little smooth transition. Hopefully it looks nice. Again, while maintaining, minimizing any environmental impacts on the bluff or on the vegetation on the bluff, we would be able to replace this structure by one that is at least 1.5 feet wider, and also using a different handrail system from a top-mounted handrail system to a side-mounted. You kind of notice that here, a side-mounted handrail system. That would give us approximately 2 feet additional of walking width for the sidewalk, with a cost that would be almost negligible increase in cost for adding these 2 feet to the sidewalk. So that would be alternative number 1, which would be widening that sidewalk towards the road, or towards the bluff. It only looks like this, though, however, on Carlsbad Boulevard between Pine Avenue and Maple Avenue. And then we'll talk a little bit more about what it looks like from Maple down to Cherry in just a minute. But it's slightly different. So this would be option number 1, widening towards the bluff, give us approximately 2 additional feet. And then alternative number 2 would be widening towards the road. And this is roughly what it would look like. Again, in the same location between Pine Avenue and Maple Avenue, aside from widening towards the bluff, which would give us a couple extra feet, and using that side-mounted hand railing system, we could potentially widen towards the road by realigning the median between Pine Avenue and Walnut Avenue, possibly taking a few feet from the median, and also down here in, between Walnut and Maple, reducing the bike lane buffer from 5 feet to 2 feet. That would give us an additional approximately 3 feet, give or take, within this portion of the sidewalk. So we could potentially go from roughly 9 feet, more or less, of 9 feet wide sidewalk to upwards of about 14-foot wide sidewalk. That would give it a feel more of a promenade than just a sidewalk. Again, we know this section here near Pine, it widens up a lot more, and definitely a lot more people hang out here and congregate here, and we have a few benches and people stand there and dogs play together, and people take pictures in this area because it's much wider. And we have the opportunity to widen that from Pine all the way to Maple, at least with an option like this. So now moving further south between Maple and Cherry. Oh, actually, I have a couple slides, a couple renderings to show what it's going to look like. This is, if you were to standing in the bike lane right around Pine Avenue looking south, so the village is behind you and Tamarack is half a mile down. This is what it looks like now, and I'll have a transition to show what it would potentially look like here in 3, 2, 1. Potentially, we could have it look like this. It would be a little bit wider here, wider towards the bluff, wider towards the road. I'm going to run that one more time because why not? So this is what it looks like now, and potentially what it would look like in the future. This would be kind of looking north. If we were standing right where this guy was looking, or this guy standing here looking south. Right now we're right around Walnut looking north. So we have Pine Avenue right up here, and the village is in front of you, and then Tamarack would be behind you. This is what it looks like now, and here's an architectural rendering of what it would look like if we're able to widen it. I'll run that one more time. This is what it looks like now. And this is what it would look like if we were to widen it. So moving further south between, again, on Carlsbad Boulevard, between Maple Avenue and Cherry, that sidewalk is not elevated anymore. However, so it is built on grade. However, on the edge of it towards the bluff, it's supported on concrete beam and a wall, a retaining wall essentially. And again, we have this top-mounted hand railing system, which kind of takes away about 6 inches or so from a potential sidewalk that people can walk on. So right now, again, it's about a little over 9 feet, 9 feet and 3 inches, give or take. Again, doing some structural calculations and having the potential to use a side-mounted hand railing system as opposed to a top-mounted handrail system. We could potentially widen it about 1.5 feet, again, towards the bluff, while minimizing as much of environmental impacts as we can. So we'd still keep that retaining wall in place. We'd remove portion of the sidewalk, make it a little bit thicker so it can withstand being cantilevered or hovering over the bluff. That'd give us an extra 1.5 feet, and using that side-mounted handrail assistance, this about another 0.5 foot or so. So we'd go from 9 feet, more or less, to approximately 11-foot wide sidewalk. Would be between Maple and Cherry. We also have a few of these overhangs or overlook areas. Those would be, for the most part, replaced in kind and replaced in their existing footprint. I just have a rendering here of what it would look like. Some of the potential aesthetic improvements that we could do for this project, and so this is something that may look like something like this. We could install some colored concrete or stamped concrete or exposed aggregate or something. We create some kind of design in the area that would be very recognizable by people. This is would be something that many people would immediately recognize some kind of design if it was implemented. People stand here, take pictures. Again, something that would be somewhat recognizable. So with that, I think I'll give it back to Hossein, and we'll kind of wrap things up, and we'll be open for some questions.
Thank you, Mr. Elias. So based on what Mr. Elias just explained, the benefits, the challenges, and the constraints associated with this project, specifically related to upper sidewalk widening, and also for cost effectiveness, staff's preferred alternative would be alternative number 1, which would be widening the sidewalk towards the bluff between Pine Avenue and Cherry Avenue. and also utilizing side-mounted cable infill handrail, just like Mr. Elias just explained, gaining additional 3 to 4 inches walking surface width. Reminding everyone, recommend action for this afternoon to receive the presentation and provide feedback on the staff's approach to implementing design of the project. And with that, we thank you for your attention, and we'd be happy to answer any question you may have.
Thank you so much for the presentation. That was really great. Really appreciate that. Any questions for the commissioners? I see Commissioner Pensier and then followed by Commissioner Hunter.
Was there any discussion of perhaps the benefit of reducing the Carlsbad Boulevard from 2 lanes to, or for actually 5 lanes down to 2 lanes, if that's possible with the amount of traffic we have going through there, as long as we would use roundabouts where we currently have the crosswalks? Was that even on the horizon for, I mean, we'd have so much more room there, it might not be even necessary to go out over the bluffs with this sidewalk.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Pensiers, for the good comment. We have another CIP project for Tamarack improvement, and for that one, currently staff is considering, or we are evaluating the functioning of a roundabout. So in fact, we had recently had meeting with our roundabout expert, and that's what we are basically working on. In terms of this project, and that roundabout, by the way, is 1-lane roundabout. In terms of this project and adding to the scope, like it was mentioned in this in the presentation, this project actually started as a repair project, and the repairs are necessary and they are safety related. These are the must-do repairs for safety purposes need to be done. So by adding to the scope of this project, delivering of this project may be significantly delayed. What you are referring to, I think, is part of more comprehensive project, more comprehensive planning of Carlsbad realignment, which we have another CIP and the staff is working toward. But like I said, just to deliver this project in a timely manner, staff decided not to add to it. And that was another reason we are not recommending alternative 2, because we are trying to prevent anything that might be wasted, or maybe we can do it as part of other projects. So that's another reason we are only recommending alternative 1 going towards the block.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Hunter?
Yeah, just curious how long the project would take and what time of year you think you'd do it if we did it, or when we do it, because it is a repair project, so it's going to get done.
Yeah, the project is currently in design phase. We are approximately 50% design. We wanted to bring it to the commission and get your input. With the input from the commission, we are going to go ahead and finalize the plans. There are some challenges because, like I said, the project is within the state parks right away, and coordination with them is a little bit challenging. They have their own concerns, but we are hoping that to complete the design within next 6 months or so, and going to construction right after that. Typically takes like 4 to 6 months after completing the design to start the construction. And the consultant is also working on the phasing plan during construction. Obviously, we are not going to close all these access points. There will be some phasing approach to do the construction.
And how long would the construction last?
Imad, do you have any estimates for construction?
Yeah, Robert, if you're online, if you don't mind to come on too, but I'll start talking. Yeah, there he is. We're estimating about 2 seasons. So we know that the summer months are extremely busy, right, in this area. This is what I call the moneymaker of the city, this area. We're estimating somewhere in the fall, we would do half the project, and then in the winter, we would do the other, fall/winter, we would do half the project, and then the other half would be done in the late winter, early spring. Bob, would you like to add anything to
Yeah,
that?
that's correct, with the main focus on avoiding the time period between Memorial Day and Labor Day.
That's right. Yeah. So the whole area won't be closed down completely for construction. We would do our best to phase it to at least keep half of the facility open, whether it's the top half or the bottom half, or a combination of the two.
And since you asked for input, I agree with you. Alternative one seems to make a lot more sense, and you're not messing with the road, and you're utilizing what you already have available, just making it better. So, all I got.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Wanamaker, Commissioner Wanamaker. Sorry.
yes, thank you. I agree. Alternative one sounds great. However, they're talking about adding approximately 2 feet more to the sidewalk. That's barely one body width. If you've walked down there lately, if you're two couples approaching each other, you almost have to walk side by side, one of them. And at 2 feet wide, it sounds like we're not getting a lot of bang for our buck for barely a body width. I'm wondering if we can't go even farther out, if the engineering wouldn't support even going, another 6 inches or another foot out over the bluff. And number two, I don't know about the natural erosion of the bluff in years to come, if that's going to affect the underlying engineering. I like the idea of side rails. It's too bad we didn't consider that originally, although engineering does change. And also, I applaud the idea of design in the pavement, such as you'd find in the airport in San Diego on the upper floor of the new terminal. It's striking, and it certainly would add to the ambiance and the enjoyment of using the sidewalk. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I can answer, and I can turn it over to Robert to add. Like Mr. Elias presented, we have some constraints, and the structural constraints would require us just to go about 1.5 feet without really touching the supporting piles. Any further extension of the upper sidewalk would require significant structure enhancement to the upper sidewalk. In terms of the 2 feet and cost, I think it was mentioned the cost would be really insignificant compared to just replacing in kind. Remember, the upper sidewalk is in very bad condition and needs to be replaced. So expanding by 1.5 feet and relocating the handrail would not add significant amount to the project cost. So I don't know, Robert, if you want to add anything to that. Also, the shading associated with the extension of the sidewalk also has, complication in regards to environmental clearance. Robert?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So currently, the double T beams, they have the thumbs are the two sides, and currently the existing one doesn't have the right thumb, but the standard is to have both thumbs, and that extra thumb is what's going over the cliff. So for the same price, we're getting a standard detail beam that's going to extend 1.5 feet over the bluff. So that's the difference there. That's why it's a minimal difference in the cost for that certain section between pine and maple.
So maybe I'll jump on and show that graphic one more time. Let me know when that comes on the screen.
We can see your screen.
Okay. So right now, Commissioner, you were saying, why don't we go much further out this way? Am I correct? The answer to that is we have these supporting concrete piles here that are going to remain in place for a few different reasons. One, they are in excellent condition right now. They don't need any kind of replacement. And two, they need to support the structure. So if we try and go much wider towards the bluff, we would need to add a lot more concrete piles, whether out more down the bluff or in between supports, and that would significantly add to the environmental impact of this project. And we still have to go through the Coastal Commission and state parks to get their buy-in on this, but that would be a great hurdle for us to get through, to add a lot more of these concrete support piles into the bluff. So the main reason why we're, I guess, quote unquote, only going 1.5 feet or 2 feet over the bluff is because that's what these existing concrete piles would support. Anything over that, we would need a lot more concrete piles.
Yeah, Matt, if you could go ahead and click to the next slide, that'd be great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there we. So Bob was mentioning, with the two thumbs. One thumb would be out here. If you notice, this portion of the blue portion here is actually much wider than the portion that's over here. We're really proposing to do a symmetrical design. I'm going to jump back to the previous slide. This is what it looks like now existing. So this portion here, you see how wide this portion is, this blue portion, as opposed to the other side of it. For whatever reason, I'm not sure why in the past, 30 years ago, when this was first designed and built, it was a non-standard design or a specific design where for some reason they had deleted this portion on the right side here. What we would propose is actually more of a symmetrical design, which would be easier in design and easier during construction phase, is to have a more symmetrical design. So this side here would be the same size and width as the other side. I hope that's not too much engineering jargon. Let me know if I went down a rabbit hole.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
I do like the word cantilever, so that's really good. Commissioner Lanke.
Thanks. So, as has been stated, this project was originally just a repair, and it was on the City Council agenda on April 20th on their consent agenda, and I requested at that time that it be pulled off for discussion for two reasons, related mostly to the addition of the option 2, where the median and the vehicle and the bicycle lane modifications were, because at that point it seemed like it'd become a mobility-related improvement project. And second, because the funding of improvement projects is different than repairs due to Proposition H, and I just wanted to make sure that we were applying the same funding standard. But Ms. Gomez at the time agreed to bring it to the commission, and I thank her for following through with that, and appreciate all of the comments the commission has made. And my comments are that certainly I think we can all support option number 1 for the negligible difference in cost. Concrete designs look good. The side-mounted handrail looked good. One question I had was the bollards. I think they look much better than the guardrail, but there was the issue with vehicles being more dangerous because they don't give. But I think the speed limit there is 30 miles per hour. And I feel like cars have their own crumple zones, and at low speed, it's probably more important to protect the pedestrians. So I don't know if you have any additional comments on the benefits of the aesthetics of the bollards and safety for pedestrians, but I think I would probably support the bollards for those reasons. And at this point, I think this is just a great repair project, and appreciate you improving it and making these small improvements, but still keeping it a repair project.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Linky, for the comment. We are still considering bollard. We were initially hoping that by switching from just standard guardrail to bollard, we could gain additional, 6 or 7 inches. But it appears that's not the case. So we are still evaluating whether that's a good option or not, considering the significant cost. I think the cost would be somewhere greater than $500,000 to replace the guardrail. So still we are considering it, but hopefully when we come back to the commission right before we approve the plans, we are going to have the final determination on that one.
Great, thanks.
Any, Commissioner Pensier?
I think I just heard you say that we have another chance to weigh in on whether we use bollards or keep the existing guardrail. Is that what I heard you just say?
What I just said is that similar to other CIP projects, we will return to the commission to get your support of staff's recommendation before we go to city council to approve the plans and seek council's authorization for construction and bids. We are looking into bollards, but it appears it's not going to help us to gain more width of the surface for the sidewalk. So that becomes, purely aesthetic things, and is it worth it to spend $500,000 or not? So we are still considering it.
Okay, well, my other comment is that I really appreciate what you guys have done on this, and trying to make it as wide as you can. I don't think there's any way you can make the sidewalk too wide. The number of people that are out there, and some of the and the pedestrians, the runners that are out there, they spill out into the street anyway. So the bike lane is, most of the time, is you can't stay there. You're moving out into the travel lane anyway to avoid the runners and the people pushing baby strollers that don't have enough room on the sidewalk. It's it's safe enough because everybody slows down when there's that many people in the street. But it really it just points out that there's no way you can ever make this too wide.
I agree.
So in that manner, I think I would really prefer option 2.
Thank you, Commissioner Pensier. Any other, Mr. Commissioner Hunter, sorry, and then followed by Mr. Frank.
Yeah, just a quick comment on the bollards. I thought they looked great, but we got a safety concern there. Right now, at least with the guardrails, it funnels everybody to the crosswalks with the flashing yellows and things like that. With just the bollards there with direct access to the street, I think you're going to have people trying to cross the street pretty much anywhere along that strip, and it's already kind of a dangerous area for people crossing and stuff. So something to consider on that. I think they look great. I just I'd be cautious about that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hunter. Mr. Frank?
Chair and commissioners, I just wanted to add that our objective is to bring projects to you during the planning and conceptual design phase to solicit input, just like we are tonight. And so just to respond to the comment that we are going to be bringing this back to you at a further date, that's going to be when it's well into the design, like probably the 80–90% design level. And at that point, it's very difficult and expensive to make changes, significant changes. So that's why we're bringing it to you early in the planning, and actually at this stage it's well beyond the conceptual design phase. But I just wanted to emphasize now is the time to provide comments, because it's much more productive to our design efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. I have just a couple of questions. I think one in regards to this process. One would be just for the the California Coastal Commission. Where are we with that? Are we in discussions with that, or is that still, because it seems like this would be a big, and also with the state parks, it seems like this would be a big, a lot of work, and then all of a sudden we get kind of knocked down by one of those two parties. That's one question. And the second one I have is just in regards to those bollards. I really do, again, just like Commissioner Hunter, they really look aesthetically beautiful, but I'm just, as a person that runs and also rides that lane, I'm just a little bit concerned that, you know, there's that in and out possibility that people can, you know, go in and out onto the bike lane, which is, I've seen it happen where, you know, you would see pedestrians hop over the guardrail, but, you know, I guess that's just more of a statement of just saying, you know, might be a little bit more to take into consideration about those bollards, especially in that high density area where there's a lot of people there. So.
Yes, in regards to obtaining necessary permits from resource agencies and coordination with the state parks, because of the proposed improvements or desired improvements and widening sidewalk, the project is no longer, the repair is no longer replacing kind, and that has required us to do certain environmental review and basically analysis. So staff is working on those basically reports. My understanding is the consultant is working on it. You know, the shading impact, that was one of the analysis the consultant is working. We have met with the state parks late back in December, more recently, and also we met, I think, January or February, just to discuss the design concept. In general, it appears they like the project. They have certain concerns, which is mostly related to shading associated with the extension of the sidewalk towards the bluff. So we are hoping by completing the environmental documentation and analysis that we are doing, and we are basically proposing certain fencing that would be minimize the shading effect. So we are hoping that they would like this component of the project, but at this point we are just finalizing the environmental reports, and with those we are going to go to the resource agencies to get the permit.
Thank you. And then just one final thing I just wanted, and I see your hand, Commissioner Pensier. In regards to the timing of this, I just want us to be cognizant too that you know, during those 2 cycles that we have, or the season cycles, you know, we just also have to take consideration too that there is a couple of events out there. So just to make sure that, you know, we have our Carlsbad 5000 and our Carlsbad Marathon that run through there. So, you know, this might be a plug. Sorry, it's not. Just to, you know, take into consideration that with the construction. So
thank you.
Yeah. And then Commissioner Pensier.
Yeah. Well, with the discussion of the bollards, and I wondered if it's you know, how much space there is between the bollards, and then to address the issue of people just walking out between them. Would a cable, a stainless steel cable between the bollards, serve as a deterrent to that, and also prevent errant pieces of vehicles from entering the sidewalk area as well?
I can have Imad or Robert answer that spacing question, but bollards are less forgiving on cars because they are more rigid material, unlike basically guardrails because they're more flexible. So the difference is in the impact. So obviously bollards have more impact on the car, so they are less forgiving for cars, but they're more protective for the pedestrian. I'll let either Imad or Robert answer the spacing question. I'm not aware of any spacing requirements.
Yeah, Bob, I think this one's perfect for you. You can go ahead and take this one, please. Also, you're muted. And then if Bob, if you could please mention the spacing requirements and the pros and cons of having those cables that run between each of the bollards, whether they're bollards or the handrails as well. We'll look into different cable railing systems for the handrails. If you could discuss those, please.
Yeah, no problem. So with the posted speed, the state requirements, you actually do not need to have the metal beam guardrail or the bollards there. It's really to discourage folks from driving up on the sidewalk. Given the road speed, the 30-mile-an-hour posted speed limit, it's not required, but it is, as everybody here is very much aware, with you know, concerns about public safety and recent events. You know, it's a good thing to have there. So as far as the spacing, you know, given the, you know, there's different what's called traffic rated bollards, and I'm going to try not to get too technical here, but basically to have it stop a 15,000-pound delivery truck, it's got to be pretty beefy and at 5 feet on center. But to stop a small passenger car, then it's more like 8 to 10 feet on center. And, you know, are we going to design it for the posted speed, or the folks who are doing, as I heard earlier, the drag racing down Carlsbad Boulevard? So it's more of a discouragement to have the bollards or the metal beam guardrail out there for the design speed is the basic gist. We can space it as far apart based on you know, level of risk that the city would want to take on. There are a lot of options out there with cables between guardrails. I can show one on my screen of the transportation corridor, if that's appropriate.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay.
I think that one was on a highway or freeway. I guess we can talk about the pros and cons of having actually pedestrians there, or small dogs or such.
Yeah, so here's one example of you know, bollards, and these are very thin posts compared to the continuous metal beam guardrail out there. So imagine that these would be either stainless or galvanized, you know, with the cabling and everything. Again, they're going to discourage folks from driving up on that sidewalk. And as mentioned before, the metal beam guardrail is more to protect the passengers in the vehicles, whereas the bollards are more for the pedestrians. But then this might be a good compromise in the middle. You know, of course, you always have concerns about kids using these as ladders and such. But anyhow, this might be one of many possibilities. So thank you for bringing that up, and it is doable.
Okay. Thank you for the comments, Mr. Sherwood. Commissioners, any other questions? No. Okay, Mr. Ojedi and Elias, thank you very much for the presentation. Really appreciate that.